Sekiro Shadows Die Twice has become my favourite game. There are many who I'm sure either gave Sekiro a miss or played very little, disheartened by the creator's infamy with difficulty. This video was made for those individuals. If you liked what you saw at E3 for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, but had neither the time nor the patience to get through it, then stick around, for I would like to make a case as to why you should definitely return to or start Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Sekiro is set in the Sengoku period of Japan, a time of constant civil war between various samurai warlords and clans. The protagonist, simply named Sekiro, or One-Armed Wolf, is a trained shinobi sworn to serve and protect Lord Kuro, the emperor and descendant of an ancient clan, imbued with what is called by characters in the game, dragon's blood. This blood has resurrective qualities, making it a powerful resource for any faction wanting to win a civil war. As a result, he has been captured by Clan Ashina, and it's up to his shinobi to rescue him, as well as aiding him on his quest of severing his ties to his immortal blood. While the narrative is unique and compelling, I would rather talk about how Sekiro tells its narrative, and how the player goes about piecing together their impression of the world. The game tells story through player interactions with NPCs, but also through its bosses, world design, bios of certain items, side quest NPCs that tie into larger aspects of the main story, and sometimes act as gatekeepers to certain hidden endings. All these different components call upon a player to pay attention, and it's all the more entertaining for it. Various forms of booze can be traded with main characters to get them to open up a bit. Backstory, past triumphs, failures, and history with other characters of the game. And this dynamic never gets old, as for one, there are not many NPCs in Sekiro, making them a small blessing when they are encountered between challenging areas. And they are all clearly distinguishable and are well integrated into the history of this story. Furthermore, Sekiro not only provides a compelling original story, but also communicates that story outside of the usual realms of traditional game storytelling. The posture-focused combat system is the best sword-on-sword combat I have ever played. Too often in games, swords feel like foam bats that have you hammering away at your opponent with little reaction. Sekiro has evidence of genuine innovation with its combat mechanics by taking the focus from simply inflicting damage to your opponent's health to their posture. Every encounter from the beginning is tense, requiring focus, but the result for dedication is a truly cinematic battle. Sekiro achieves a nice balance between player control and visual spectacle. What I mean by this can be better explained by comparing two games that have not achieved this balance, instead opting to perfect one. Assassin's Creed is a game with incredibly animated finishing moves. You can really feel their brutality, and they are undoubtedly visually stimulating. However, they require a button press to perform, and you, the player, sit and watch until the animation is complete. Now take a game like Dark Souls. You're constantly in control. Every dodge, attack, parry happen because you, the player, instigated it. However, in the rare instances where they do briefly take control from you, the animations leave more to be desired. Sekiro has mastered this tightrope, allowing for a genuine feeling of progression as you get better at perfectly deflecting enemies and identifying openings, all accompanied by intricately animated varied enemies. I'm not even going to go into detail about all the weapons that can be fitted to your mechanical arm. Just know it adds a whole layer of optional playstyles within the system. Closing distance with shuriken follow-up strikes, for example, or toss oil found in the game over an enemy, and light them up with your fire barrel. As I said, I won't go into too much detail on these, as experimentation with them is ultimately what leads you to your favourite playstyle. There are many more components to combat, but I really want to bring focus back to this blade on blade aspect. I can't sing its praises enough. Such a simple idea in theory that completely revitalises the hack and slash system. Fights with bosses aren't a free stage rinse repeat. They all fight in their own style and have their own strengths and weaknesses. I won't show many bosses to enhance the impact when you fight them yourself. In summary for combat, it's visually satisfying, rewarding, and unlike other games that let you wield swords, it has the feeling of just that. A sword fight. I thought I would give combat its own section as I wanted to talk about that the most. Now let's dive into the other gameplay mechanics Sekiro has to offer. Stealth has many mechanics that add strategy to how players deal with enemy dense areas. We have traditional backstab kills, aerial kills, throwable items to attract enemy attention, but also stealth arts, such as emitting a blood smoke cloud from your enemy's throat, allowing you to stealth kill more enemies caught in the confusion, puppeteer the mind of a scout gunman, and have him provide cover fire from above. Another cool thing about stealth, tying back to storytelling, Sekiro can eavesdrop on enemies, learning lore, information on boss weaknesses, and info that can be traded with other NPCs. The movement system contributes a lot to the fluidity of stealth. The grapple hook provides Sekiro the means to quickly cover ground, also providing a means to escape death in tougher combat encounters, and as a method of unbalancing bigger enemies. Another thing I want to mention regarding movement is Sekiro has a ledge grab button. May not seem like much, but I like how even basic climbing techniques require more than just holding down a button. Plus you can do some cool ledge grabs. Sekiro's art style is truly impressive. In this fantasy-inspired reimagining of Japan, we see consistent attention to detail and evidence of extensive research into the Sengoku era. The different biomes Sekiro lets you explore, similar to the characters, all have backstory and historical relevance to current events. Sekiro is set in the later part of the Sengoku era, and you get a real sense of this for its environmental design. Buildings are weathered from battle, barely standing yet still staying true to their Japanese architecture. It's really interesting to see a torn apart world juxtaposed with the vibrancy and colour we've all come to know Japan for. I believe this was a planned component from the beginning of this game's pre-production phase, as the theme of decay and stagnation come up a lot in the game's story, so it's nice to see the environmental design reflect these literary themes. Going back to what I said in the story section, the game's environment tells its own story through the visual assets placed around the world. Statues big and small, abandoned shrines, suits of full samurai armor on display, paintings of different Japanese myths, flowers and many more are all well crafted and further enrich this game's setting. Graphics are great, but they're not really the main focus on the game's visual identity, FromSoft seeming to put more emphasis on lighting, colour and tone. Areas really are beautiful. In fact, I've been speaking for a while. Let's just let the game speak for itself for a bit. The sound design, like other main aspects of the game, have not been left at the wayside. Dialogue sounds great. I recommend playing with the Japanese dub The English voice actors aren't bad, but I've played with both, and there are certain moments where, for me, the Japanese language adds more emotion than its English counterpart. That in the game set in Japan.
随分と詳しい。
いかんな。いつまでも血生臭いことを言うておるから、仏の顔も鬼になるのよ。
The sounds of combat add another layer of depth to the satisfaction factor, with sickly blood gushes and the clashing of blades exaggerated to give a real battle sound. Areas also have their own distinct sounds, adding more to their separation and identities. I won't say much more on the different sounds heard in Sekiro, just know that they all sound great, and have clearly been given the same attention to detail as the other aspects of the game. The music of Sekiro encompasses ambient Japanese sounds and utilises Japanese flutes, all to better represent the culture. Each character has their own soundtrack, the notes selected also reflecting character traits. Take the soundtrack for Emma the Physician, and we hear calm, slow notes of the violin, communicating her kindness and properties of a healer. Now compare that with Genichiro, the one responsible for the kidnapping of our divine heir. We have a more ominous, fast-paced flurry of strings. I would recommend, after playing Sekiro, to revisit the soundtrack, to witness the effort made to properly encapsulate not only character, but also theme, culture, and emotional resonance. Sekiro wins on every front for me. To the cinematic player control driven combat, to its themes, art, music and compelling narrative it tells, Sekiro gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Does this make it a perfect game? No. But for me, it's still done more than enough to win those full marks. In fact, it's made me want to return to a similar game for the same euphoric experience. But that's a video for another time. Thank you for watching. Comment below if I managed to persuade you. If not, leave a comment as to what's holding you back. Maybe someone else can try where I failed. With new updates coming to Sekiro in October, including boss rush modes, multiple cosmetic items, and some light multiplayer interactions to aid new players, there has never been a better time to sink your teeth into Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. Subscribe if you'd like to see more game reviews. This was fun to make and I'd like to continue. Until next time.